Hi everyone, my name is Samala. I'm a poet and a writer, communications and journalism expert, but most especially a lecturer, a researcher, and a specialist in art, literature, and cultural studies with a PhD in that, specializing in comparative literature and environmental humanities. And I work across a broad spectrum of areas, including climate change, sustainable development, sustainability science, foresight, and futures thinking. And I also help people by sharing opportunities like scholarships and job opportunities, competitions and contests, especially for young people so that they can apply and get to develop themselves to full potential. And I'm making this video within that context and also in continuation, partly, of the Empowerment Day for young people that was just recently concluded within the Waves of Glory Ministry in Yaoundé that dealt with youth empowerment. Today I want to talk about some opportunities that young people can take advantage of, especially in terms of education, scholarships. But before then, I want to first start off by saying that sorry, I had some kind of issue with my network. So as I was saying, society compensates us when we show that we can create value. So it's not desperation that society compensates. Even in difficult moments, what we always need to show is to show the ability that we can create value, that we can solve problems. And when we do that, then we can be able to take advantage of opportunities. And even when we have challenges, we can always turn them into opportunities. And one of the highest blessings we have as Cameroonians is our bilingualism in English and in French, which adds on to our multilingualism with the over 300 languages that we speak. For instance, I speak English and French, I speak my Mbese language, and I speak a couple more neighboring languages like Oku, Kom, and many more. And so these are advantages. We can use them to build ourselves and grow, and particularly do this through volunteerism. Because very often young people say, well, I don't have experience, I don't have any connections. And I'm not talking about connections in the stupid sense of people practicing tribalism and nepotism. I'm talking about connections in the sense of professional networking, knowing people who matter, and not just knowing them by showing them what you can bring to the table. So that when an opportunity comes up, someone can recommend you, someone can write a recommendation letter for you, whether it's for a scholarship, whether it's for a competition, whether it's for a job, and the person is not doing that because you come from their village, or from their fundum, or from the chiefdom, or from their tribe, or because you're their friend, or you come from the family. No, the person is doing that because the person knows your value, your worth, what you can do when given that opportunity. That's why in well-functioning societies, we have letters of recommendation. We write them so that we can support and advocate for people that we know can deliver, can do the job. And so as a young person, it's always important that even when we don't yet have a job, we have not yet created a job, we can volunteer in different organizations, NGOs, even within ministries, municipalities, people's companies. Just say, well, I have 1 month, 2 months, I would just want to work for you for free. Please don't mind about paying me. If you can give me anything, fine and good, but what I want to do is that I just want to give you my services. I want to bring value to your company, to your organization, and I want to learn in the process. And there you build relations, lasting relations that can help you. So having said that, because I don't want this video to be very long, I will now go to the next steps of this presentation, which have to do with opportunities in the area of entrepreneurship and NGOs, and then opportunities in terms of scholarships. Of course, you can always come back to this channel and you'll see more videos I've made about these issues. And you can also watch my space on Facebook, where I usually share a lot of scholarships. So in terms of entrepreneurship, there are lots and lots of competitions out there when you've already started. But one of them that I would like to mention is the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program, which is launched every year. It's an annual program, and people are usually selected first for training. And after the training, you just apply by having a business idea. You need to be from Africa. You must have an African nationality. You must be from at least one of the 54 or 55 countries of Africa. And you can prove that with your passport or another or national ID. And when you apply, if your idea sounds good and you are selected in the first phase, you will go through entrepreneurial training. And after the training, you will then develop your business idea into a full-fledged business proposal, and you'll pitch it to a panel of judges. And if you are selected, you can be given seed funding of up to 5,000 US dollars to start your business with it. That's a very big thing. And when we go in for these things, we should not always go in because we want to win. You can go in and you don't win, but you end up making friends, making connections, and learning things that will help you to launch your business. Because apart from that, there are also many opportunities, many funding schemes for businesses. They just need to go to Google and Google search and say, I'm looking for maybe a startup funding competitions for entrepreneurs in agribusiness in Cameroon or in Africa. You will see a lot of things. Or people in edutech, educational technologies, using ICTs in education, or whatever domain you may choose, creative industries, you will always find things. And also, if you're running an NGO, what you can also do is that you can go to the website known as Funds for NGOs, and you can always see whether you have an environmental NGO, whether you have an NGO that is working for vulnerable people for empowerment. You can always see different grants and see if you are eligible to apply for them to get some funding. One of the organizations I know that has funded many projects in Cameroon is known as the Pollination Project. And they usually start off by funding things to the tune of about $1,000, which is not small. You need to start small, but to think big. You can start small, but you think big. That's crucial. And also, you can take advantage of programs like the Young African Leaders Initiative, YALI, run by the U.S. Department of State. And you can apply to go to the YALI regional leadership centers for some training. Sometimes nowadays, some of the training is now done online. I once benefited from one of these programs by going to Dakar in Senegal. So now you can apply to go to Dakar in Senegal. You can go to Accra in Ghana. You can go to Lagos in Nigeria. But sometimes you can also follow the training online. And in addition to that, YALI also offers a lot of free courses online. Free courses on entrepreneurship, free courses on citizen engagement, free courses on civil society building, free courses on public management, and all the rest that you can imagine. You can take advantage of those courses and you gather the knowledge, because the most important thing is not just getting certificates, but getting knowledge and transforming that knowledge into value for your society. And you can also apply for the Young African Leaders Initiative flagship program known as the Mandela Washington Fellowship. This and more are things you can do for free. You can also apply, or you can also use websites like Coursera or FutureLearn to study a lot of courses and programs for free, especially in the form of what we call MOOCs. MOOC stands for MOOC is MOOC, and it stands for Massive Online Open Courses. And there are lots of those kinds of courses you can take online. You can also check universities like University of the People. You can check universities like the United Nations System Staff College, which offers a lot of courses free. Lots of ways to learn nowadays. And even on YouTube, you can learn. Now, coming to scholarships, there are different kinds of scholarships, but I will try to summarize some of those that you can take advantage of. Just some, there are lots of them. So in terms of scholarships given by countries or national governments, you can look for scholarships like, for example, Chinese government scholarship program, the South Korean government scholarship program, the Turkish government scholarship program, and then the Fulbright scholarship program in the US, and many other forms of scholarships given by individual countries. And or the DAAD scholarship in Germany, DAAD, that. There are many more. I'll be coming back to some of the details later. But take note that for countries like Germany, for countries like China, for countries like Turkey, for countries like South Korea, for countries like Japan, when you, most of their scholarships, they have a condition that you first must study their language before you start your program, your school program. So always keep that in mind and ask yourself, am I good at learning foreign languages? Am I good at learning foreign languages, and am I ready to learn the foreign languages before you choose to go to a country whose language is neither English nor French? That's something to keep in mind, because sometimes it's an advantage for those who can learn foreign languages and are willing to, but for those who can't, it might be a disadvantage because you might end up feeling very frustrated if you don't succeed to learn the language, or if you learn the language and at the end of the day you sit in class and when lectures are being given in that language you don't understand anything, because it's not easy to just learn a language within about 1-2 years and then start studying in that language in the university when technical terms and the highest level of academic grammar can be used. So those are things to keep in mind. That being said, now the other scholarships that are given by like multinational organizations would include scholarships like Francophonie scholarships. Most of them are given thanks to universities in Canada, or Commonwealth scholarships, and also the Chevening scholarship in the UK, Commonwealth scholarships. And then we also have the Erasmus Mundus scholarships that are given by the European Union. And the Erasmus Mundus scholarships are usually for the master's level, and a few of them are for the PhD level. And the Erasmus Mundus has more than 40 master's programs, and each of the master's programs of the Mundus program is a joint program run by at least 2 or 3 universities in different countries. And so you can always maybe go to Google and you type catalog Mundus master's program, and you see a lot of them, and you choose what belongs, what you feel like is a good match for you, and you can apply for it. Other scholarships you need to also take note of is that in terms of masters and PhD, countries like the Netherlands, countries like France, Belgium, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, even Germany again, nearly all of them also offer specific special scholarship programs for international students. Sometimes in the list of countries that are eligible, we don't see Cameroon, which is unfortunate, but sometimes we also see Cameroon. So always check to be sure that there is Cameroon, that you are, as a Cameroonian, we are eligible. But again, this video is not only for Cameroonians. If you are watching this and you are from Nigeria and Ghana, in Kenya and Tanzania, I have good news for you, because these are countries that are usually found on all the list of those scholarships for international students from the global south. Now, another thing to take note of is that in Canada and in the United States of America, most master's program and PhD programs have automatic funding packages. What this means is that generally, if you want to do a master's in chemistry, or you want to do a master's in geography, or a master's in French, or a master's in history, you can go to Google and just type list of universities in maybe Kansas State, or list of universities in Florida, or list of universities in, or even in the United States as a whole, and you select some that you like. Go into their website, go to the web pages for the department of your interest, look up their conditions. What are their admissions conditions? Do you need to write language tests, or do you also need to write the GRE test or GMAT test? Check those things. Most often I advise people to choose universities that are not asking for the GRE test or the GMAT test. Look at them and see what they say, because generally when there is automatic funding, they will always tell you that all admitted students will be automatically considered for funding. That's the same thing for Canada. You type a list of universities in Canada, go into their websites and check. You will always notice that most master's programs and most PhD programs. Once you succeed in getting admissions, your admission letter comes with scholarships. And I'm speaking as an example. I had two scholarships for PhD in Canada. That was way back in 2018, which I did not even take them up because I decided to do my PhD rather in Denmark. So I'm speaking out of experience. I know what I'm talking about. So if you do this, you can find a lot of scholarships, but people never really want to tell you. So if you go and you take, for example, universities like McMaster, universities like Toronto, universities like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, University of British Columbia, take universities like Moncton, you take universities like Alberta, universities like Calgary, etc. in Canada, you always go into their website and check what they say about your specific department and program. Because in most cases, you will have automatic funding, which means that when you apply, if you give all the documents they are asking from you, you have good recommendation letters from your lecturers and perhaps people from organizations where you've worked, you have good transcripts, your results were good, and you've written the test. If they were tests to write and you've written the test, you have them. Then generally when you have that good news in your email, once you see congratulations, you've been admitted, next thing you will see, they will tell you about the funding. And the funding there in America and Canada is usually divided into two. One part is what they call a scholarship, which is free money given for you for your studies, and the other part will be what they call teaching assistantships or graduate assistantships, which means that as a PhD student, you will also have to do some teaching which you are paid for. And if you don't teach there, you are not paid. That's where the downside is. Yeah, that's the downside of it. And now, over to Europe. For PhD studies in Europe, most countries in Europe, they treat the PhD as a full-time job. That is the case in France, for example, with what they call le contrat doctorat. If you want to do your PhD in France, go to the website of any university of your choice and look at your conditions for the contrat doctorat, contact a person there who is doing research, a professor who will supervise you, and ask for more information and apply. If you are given that, you will be given a job contract, which is called contract doctorat. The same thing in Germany, Belgium, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Netherlands, on their websites as jobs. So when you see it, you apply for it as a job. And if you are successful, then you are offered a job contract separately from your letter of admissions. And you will be paid a full-time salary, and you contribute to pension and every other thing that someone who is working full-time does. That's the fundamental difference between a PhD scholarships in the US or Canada and in Europe, because in America and in Canada, the PhD is not considered as a full-time job in that sense. Like, for example, even if you have a scholarship, you're not expected to pay taxes and contribute to pension. Whereas in most European countries that I've just cited here, if you are given a scholarship, which would actually be an employment opportunity as a PhD fellow, then you will be receiving a full salary for that time, and you will also have to contribute to pension towards retirement and pay taxes on that. That's crucial. And again, that also means that, for instance, let's take the case of a country like Denmark or like Sweden. That means that everything you are doing is counted as work. Even your research itself is work, and you are paid for it. You will do some teaching, but the teaching is not. Sometimes you can decide not to do the teaching. It depends on how you arrange things with your supervisor and department. But you will not be penalized for having not taught. You know what I mean by that. But again, if you are planning a career in academia, you want to end up lecturing, you need to teach so that you have that experience on your CV, and also not only on your CV, you really learn how to teach in the university. And always be aware that there is very high competition out there, whether it is for getting scholarships or for getting jobs after those scholarships, because in every country on earth now, there are more people who graduate with PhDs, who graduate with master's degrees, who graduate with bachelor's degrees than there are jobs. Nearly every country has that issue. And again, it's going to be getting more and more complicated in the days ahead, especially because of, that is what we call AI, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not gradually, quickly replacing many jobs, because there are many things that people used to do and they were paid for as jobs, and now AI can do those things, and so people are more and more people are becoming jobless. And if we are not careful, that is going to become a very, very serious problem in the next 5 to 10 years and going up. So we always need to keep this in mind and to do our best. As I'm driving to the end of this video now, I will just state a few general facts or a few general points to take note of. When it comes to scholarships, please, it's important to know that one of the key factors is your performance. And it's also important to know that there are generally very few scholarships at the bachelor's level. Most scholarships start from the master's and the PhD level. At the bachelor's level, scholarships are usually very few, and that's why my advice to anyone, especially from Cameroon, is generally that after you get your advanced level, try to do a good GPA. GPA stands for Grade Point Average. In French, it is called Moyenne Générale Pondérée, MGP. And for most scholarship programs, if you are a science student or a science and technology student, you are usually expected that your GPA should be at least 3.5 on 4. You need to be competitive for scholarships. And if you are a student in the arts, social sciences and humanities, like history, literature, communications, journalism, you are expected to have a GPA of at least 3 on 4. And for universities that do that on 100, it means that you need to have at least 75 on 100 before you can compete. But sometimes you might have a slightly lower, like maybe instead of having 3, you might have 2.9 or 2.8, or instead of having 3.5, you might have 3.4 or 3.3. But you can compensate for that in some cases if you have published articles in academic journals, you've done things, you've volunteered enough, you've done things that you can add to your CV, and people can take you more serious, and they can understand that, yeah, of course, this person was not able to have the complete average GPA that is expected of them, but at least at the same time, the person was able to or has demonstrated a lot of service to the community. Because again, as I said at the beginning of this, and I'm going to be saying this again, people are rewarded for the value that they try to create for their societies. And if you are somebody who is so selfish, you think only about yourself, if you see a scholarship, you'll be hiding it. If you see a job opportunity, you'll be hiding it. It must be for you and you alone, or you and your immediate family members. And let me have bad news for you. Society does not function that way. Very few people will take you serious. Very few people will want to give you opportunities. So that's why when you are applying for scholarships, for jobs and these things, particularly scholarships, apart from looking for your scores, for your good performance in university, they need to hear what the people writing your recommendation letters will say. Because they need to see that you're someone who is humane, you're somebody who is kind, you're somebody who is generous. Generous does not always mean about sharing money. You can be generous in many ways. You're someone who can try to help others, you're someone who thinks about your community, and then you can be sure that you have more chances of having these opportunities come your way. And yeah, I invite you to watch more videos on my YouTube channel, and also check my Facebook timeline, where I usually share a lot of scholarships. And I hope that sometime I may be able to do a live video and take questions and answer them on the live. But until then, that is that for now, and I wish you the best of luck as you Google search these scholarships I've mentioned today, and also Google search for more that I've not mentioned, because they are just too many that I cannot mention. But remember again that you need some good performance, but you also need good letters of recommendation that show your community service. And just a quick round of it, I mentioned scholarships like the Japanese government scholarship, the Chinese government scholarship, the Turkish government scholarship, the South Korean government scholarship, the Saudi Arabian government scholarship, the DAAD scholarship in Germany, the Chevening scholarship in the UK, the Commonwealth scholarships, the Fulbright scholarships, and then different scholarships in different departments of different universities in the US and in Canada, the Francophonie scholarships, and I also mentioned the Erasmus Mundus scholarships, masters, but a few doctoral programs, and then a lot of PhDs advertised as jobs in most European countries, and then also scholarships like the Ashinanga Scholarship for orphans, and many, many, many more that are just 1 meter away from your Google search. So thank you. Have a nice day.